It's time for the SP and Bushy Show. Here's your hosts, SP and Bushy.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the SP and Bushy Show. I'm SP, he's Bushy. Bushy, how you feeling?
I'm doing good. Feeling pretty good. Warm weather today. Went out and hit some balls at the driving range and felt really good. I was like, it feels good to hit golf balls again.
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky enough to get a round in, I think, on Saturday. Just 9 holes, but I mean, it's definitely good to be getting back out there and be living in Colorado where we can get some golf in January.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and it's 50 degrees here today, and it was like, yep, gotta go out and hit some golf balls.
Exactly, man. Can't be mad at that. Now, obviously, I love playing golf, but I hate watching golf on TV because it gives me unrealistic expectations about my own game.
No, see, I just watch golf for the points of, I did that before. I know exactly how he feels right now. That's what I feel. That golf stars are just like me sometimes.
The whole where like Sergio Garcia ends up with like a 12, and then it's like, oh, okay, no, I don't feel so bad.
Yes, or one time they I think I watched the PGA last year, and like Tiger Woods like duffed a sand shot that he duffed it like a couple of times, and it was like, I know exactly how Tiger feels.
Awesome, man. Now, obviously, lots of sports to chat about, but I mean, let's talk a little bit about NFL playoffs. I mean, we're down to our final 4 teams here. I don't think it's much of a shock which are our final 4 teams. I guess the biggest surprise is Tampa beating New Orleans. Just talk a little bit about what your thoughts were on the weekend.
No, I agree with you on that point where, yeah, I think we got the top 4 teams of the NFL with the Bills and the Chiefs and the Buccaneers and the Packers. If the Saints were in, it would have been just as fine as well. You can't get what can the Saints fans fault this time? They really can't. They actually got beaten this time, and they can't blame refs or anything like that.
They can put it on the fact that they already beat that team twice during the regular season and still won the head-to-head series despite losing in the playoffs.
Yeah, they could point to that, but they lost the important game rather than the 2 other games.
I think if you beat a team twice during the season, then you should be able to just bypass them and just eliminate them automatically.
Oh, kind of like a bye week. Like, you beat them twice, you deserve it.
You beat them twice, it's over.
And what I'm thinking of as well is, we're having a young guns versus old guard kind of Super Bowl, whichever matchup we get, with Brady and Rodgers over in the NFC, and then with Allen and Mahomes for the AFC as well. So it's really going to be a young guns versus the old guard type of Super Bowl. So I'm very excited for that.
Of course, assuming Mahomes gets out of concussion protocol, which it looks like he probably will.
Yes, and he does have the toe injury as well, so that could, or a foot injury, that could harp him a little bit. You saw he really was grimacing with that toe injury, and he was kind of not very accurate after that injury.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see that game. I think that's of the games, the two games, the one that interests me the most is that Kansas City versus Buffalo game. I feel like Buffalo's coming in with a ton of momentum, and I'm very interested to see if Mahomes can battle through all these injuries. I mean, I was shocked the Browns didn't capitalize on it more and beat them, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think Buffalo's riding this momentum. I think it's going to be a very exciting thing to see if they can knock off the defending champs.
Yeah, I know people were talking about this going back to the Browns-Chiefs game. I know people were talking about the Rashard Higgins fumble, like that was the fumble part 2 or something like that. It's not the same as the fumble back in 1987. Like, that was in the 4th quarter. They were driving to tie the game. Really, the Browns were trying to maybe minimize to get it to 3 in the halftime. Yeah, they're both fumbles and they happened in the end zone, but one was a lot more significant that deserves the term fumble rather than the other one.
I agree that the fumble by Ernest Biner should definitely count as a fumble. The one by Higgins this time, I mean, it's forgivable. He got lit up by Sorensen, who I think is kind of a little bit underrated. Is kind of like a dirtier player. Like he comes in and lays some hammers usually, and you saw it even in that one that he led with his head, and it was a bad hit. That I mean, obviously the ref had a lot to look for on that play, but again, it was helmet to helmet. He led with his head. I mean, it was kind of an egregious hit.
Yeah, but he actually made the right call. Like it was a fumble that went out of bounds. He actually applaud him for actually making the right call rather than kind of calling for a touchdown and basically, I'll let replay decide it. So
right,
good on the ref's part for actually making the right call. Do you actually? I know I saw a debate on Twitter. Do you actually like that rule, the fumble out of bounds counts as a touchback?
I don't.
See, on the opposite, I love it as a touchback. See, you got 100 yards, got 100 yards, you got to protect the football.
Right, but I don't think, fumbling into the end zone, I think you should get it from where he fumbled it.
From where he fumbled it? Oh, I disagree. I think you got to hold on to the football, especially at the end zone. Really, all we're doing is just going to hamper the defense a lot more. And we're going to see a lot of this happen a lot more if they kind of change the rules. So,
well, I mean, the offensive player is trying to dive for that pylon anyway. And, I mean, I think that, you look at some of these and it's like the rules are inconsistent anyway, because if he goes in as a runner, it's a lot easier than if he catches in the ball in the end zone, then he has to do 2 feet and complete the catch and all this other stuff. I think there's definitely some inconsistency on what's a touchdown and what isn't.
I agree with that, but I still guess I'm an old school that way. Really, I mean, what about too with the fumble and it kind of goes out of bounds, in play as well. So
right, but like the defense doesn't necessarily recover the football. It's just basically almost like using the end zone as like another teammate almost. Because I think if no one recovers the fumble, how should the ball automatically be awarded to the defense?
That is true, but I agree. I think it's a great rule. I like it. I just like chaos sometimes with the NFL. And well, they got a rule too, and like the kickoff, we actually saw it happen where the guy was out of bounds and he touched the ball while he was out of bounds, and somehow that's a flag for the kicking team as well. So the football has some really weird rules.
It certainly does, and it kind of makes you wonder, like when some of these rules were invented, when they're like making the rules of the game, like how many arguments there were between the people creating the game and playing it first to be like, nah, that's not like this. It should automatically be my ball because you fumbled it before you crossed the goal line.
Yeah, it's probably some rule that probably happened in the 1930s or 1940s or something like that. That especially with the immaculate reception rule as well, where it was like offensive player couldn't touch it twice, directly or something like that. It's one of these like, who cares?
Right. Like I said, it's just it is weird how many of these rules kind of lead to debates and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. But again, we'll see. I don't want them to change the rule.
I want them to change the rule. Like I said, the end zone shouldn't be another teammate. It shouldn't be automatically awarded to the defense just because he fumbled it in the end zone. Because if he fumbles it along the sidelines and the sideline gets the ball, then all of a sudden, if he fumbles it and it rolls out like at the 1 foot line, it's still his ball. But somehow if it's in the end zone, it goes to the defense. Once again, it's just kind of inconsistent.
You know what? Let's just throw all the rules out. I want chaos. If the ball goes out of bounds, you still have to have possession or something like that. So whoever gets the ball in possession, right. You better watch out. You better watch out, sideline people.
Like yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I'm all for that. Give me that. Whoever gets the ball on the sideline first. If the ball's loose, someone has to go get that ball. Someone
has to go get. And we should do that too with the fumble as well. Yeah, just have a fight for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what should be happening. Whoever gets that ball first on the sideline. Because once again, if it had been 1 foot earlier before it was in the pylon, it's his ball at the 1.5 foot line. If it goes in the end zone, suddenly it's the defense's ball. It's inconsistent. I don't like it. Let's have him recover it on the sideline. Let's have a battle for it out of bounds. Let's have them fight all the way back to the locker room, kicking it around. I don't care. Just give me a definite recovery by somebody.
And the sideline people are in play too. So if it goes out of bounds, sideline people are in play as well, including coaches. Coaches should get in as well. I want to see Andy Reid on the bottom of a pile trying to get a fumble. That's what I want. Give me that.
I don't know that Andy Reid's going to be running the 80 yards, but I think, give me Sean McVay in a race down there to try and get the ball over like someone else.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Mahomes fumbles. It's recovered by Bieniemy. Oh, my God.
That would be fun. Now that I want to see. Give me that.
Hey, that's something the XFL should maybe, when the XFL does come back, that's what they should implement.
I agree. No out of bounds. The entire stadium's in play. Make it like hockey. You can ram someone into the boards or like the stadium wall. I would love that.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, well, the ball has hit the nacho stand now, and somebody still hasn't recovered it.
Make it like Royal Rumble 2002 where you can slam someone's head into a popcorn machine.
Yes, exactly. That's what we need. We just need more chaos.
Yeah, exactly. Give me more chaos. I mean, there's going to be plenty, I'm sure, going down the stretch. I know my favorite meme of the week was when Tom Brady tried to high-five the referee after scoring a touchdown in that Saints-Buccaneers game. And it was Tom Brady trying to high-five a longtime teammate.
Yeah, what was that, man? Like, what? Come on, Tom.
Because
Don't high-five refs.
The officials have been on his team longer than anyone else. You can't argue him for trying to high-five them. Like I said, they've been his teammates longer than Gronkowski, longer than Chris Godwin, longer than any of these guys. So why should he be shy about it anymore? We all know that the officials have helped him the entire way to all of these championships. He's been the league's darling this whole time. He's earned maybe one of the Super Bowl victories on his own cleanly. And that's about it.
Yeah, and he got help from the refs really early on too with the anniversary of the tuck rule game, which that brings up to my bonehead theme of the week. And actually, this happened with ESPN NFL. They tweeted out the photo. It was the 19-year anniversary of the tuck rule game, but they mentioned it as the AFC Conference Championship game, which it wasn't. It was a divisional playoff game. So yeah, come on, ESPN. You got to fact check that stuff, man. Like, come on, it's just easy. Just Google tuck rule game, and I'm sure it will show up that it was a divisional playoff game.
Ooh, I hadn't looked at that one. That's a big one.
Yeah, that is a big one, and I'm just like, that's not right. It would have had really a lot more bigger implications, I think, if it happened in the conference championship rather than the divisional championship.
My bonehead of the week is all these Steelers players that have been talking hard about still been talking smack to the Browns after getting a horrible beating from the Browns. Like acting like you're still something. Like you got your butt kicked. Don't talk any crap until next year if you beat them, which you probably won't because a lot of that team's going to be lost to free agency. All these Steelers players that are acting like the Browns didn't just put it on them badly 2 weeks in a row. Those are my boneheads of the week.
Yeah, it's very strange that they talked all this smack really for a team that really nosedived. I know they got some excuses, but really you lost to the Browns and you lost to them handily too. Like if it was a call here or there didn't go your way or a fumble here or there that like that, you got your butts kicked.
Like, I'm sorry, you're down 28-0 in the first quarter. There's no smack talking after that. Just take your whooping, go to the back, just take your whooping, go to the back of the line, and wait till next year. And maybe then, if you beat the Browns next year, come back with some smack talk. But don't act like you did anything this season except breeze through an easy first half of your season schedule and then tank at the end, like you said.
Yeah, we'll have to see with the Steelers next year. I'm very kind of curious how they're going to be next year because I think the schedule may get a little bit harder for them this year. And the same goes for the Browns. I've been kind of saying this is kind of the everything that goes right year for them. They have very minimal success, but then this year they've seemed to turn it around. They've had all this success, And I'm kind of curious if they keep the momentum going, or it was like this again, everything went right, and they have a one-season wonder, and they go back to mediocrity again.
See, here's why I don't think that. I think that the Browns actually dealt with a lot of injury issues, especially right now in the postseason. They had offensive linemen going down. They had, a lot of injuries at the cornerback position. And some of that stuff, even the Steelers were able to exploit it a little bit. I think that they had a lot of injuries down the stretch. I don't think this is a one and done for the Browns. Obviously, I think he's a little overrated, but they didn't have Odell Beckham Jr. for this run, too. And I think obviously he has the potential to stretch the defense as well. So I think they lost a lot of people to injuries. Not that there aren't other teams that did, but I don't think that this is a one and done for the Browns. I think that they have the buildings blocks to, especially now that the Steelers are kind of aging out and going to lose some of these people to free agency, kind of surpass the Steelers and maybe stick around as that top team in the AFC North.
Right, yeah, and they still got to go through Baltimore, which
Right,
they have not beaten, and we will have to see. This is going to be an interesting team next year. I think your watch, they're going to be everybody's dark horse team of, they can maybe make a run at the playoffs and all that, which is kind of bad, really, because then that means they have a lot of expectations, and a lot of guys actually do read the stuff. So it's going to be fun to see what the Browns are going to be next year.
I agree. I can't wait, obviously, to see what they do next year. It's going to be interesting to see how the Saints bounce back now without Drew Brees as well.
Right, yeah, and like you said with the Steelers, this is going to be probably a team that's going to lose a lot of players to free agency, and probably is going to have to rebuild now. And really, it's if I'm a Saints fan, I'm very frustrated with these past 4 years because they've had all this success in the regular season and doing really well, really to have really playoff heartbreak after playoff heartbreak the past 4 years.
Right. Absolutely. Obviously, there's no way to deny that they were at least screwed out of one Super Bowl appearance out of there. But nevertheless, it is sad to see that Drew Brees doesn't get to walk out at least playing in another Super Bowl.
I know, but he's won one, so it's not like he's a Dan Marino or something like that. He's won one. He's fine, and he will go down as statistically one of the best quarterbacks ever.
I really like Brees. I heard him speak at a conference a few years ago, and everything he said made him sound like a really good character guy. So I'm glad to see. I would have liked to have seen him go off into the sunset with another Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, it would have been nice to get the Elway Manning walk off. But I guess that's just reserved for being a Denver Bronco, really.
I guess so. Awesome, man. Well, I think, we've touched on the NFL quite a bit. We're both excited too. NHL back in full swing, baby. First week in the books. What jumped out to you from the first week of the NHL?
Well, really Philly. Philly's going to probably be a very dominant force going into the Eastern Conference as well. They're 3-1 right now, and they look good, beating Pittsburgh a couple of times and then losing to Buffalo, but then coming back and winning Buffalo as well. And again, the top tier of the West with Vegas, the Avs, Colorado, and St. Louis battling for it. It's going to be a bloodbath between those three teams on who's going to get the top seed in the Western Division as well. In the North is fun. I've enjoyed seeing all the Canadian teams play each other and stuff. And really, that could be the division now. Like, I want the Canadian teams all together.
Yeah, I think that division lends itself to a lot of excitement, and I think that's, for Canadian hockey fans especially, that's the division that I'm sure they've wanted this whole time. Yeah, I'm sure the Canadians still want to beat up on the Boston Bruins occasionally, but for the most part, I think that's the division that you want to see, and I think that's going to be a fun division to watch throughout this season. I'm very excited to see what happens in the North Division. All of these divisions I think are going to be pretty exciting to watch, except for maybe the Central, where I think Tampa Bay is going to just keep putting it on people.
Yeah, Tampa Bay. I see Florida is 2-0, and Carolina is 2-1. But I just found out earlier today that their games got postponed due to contact tracing. So their next couple of games are kind of in limbo as well. And who knows what's going to happen with the Stars now? they've had games really postponed for a week now due to COVID. So how they are going to bounce back
Right, exactly.
as well, since a majority of their people got COVID, or like 17 players, I believe, got COVID. So it's a very tough thing to bounce back upon and see if they maybe start out slow and then come back and be dominant for the end of the year.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how the Stars do. Obviously, we haven't seen them on the ice yet. They're another team that could be competitive in that division for sure.
Yeah, and again, Edmonton as well. All this hype with McDavid and Draisaitl as well. Only 1-3 right now to start the season, and they've scored goals, but they can't keep goals out as well. So, same story, same year, different, same year, same story when it comes to Edmonton. You can't find a goalie to save their soul.
Exactly. Well, I think we were going to start a new segment on the show, our top 5 and our bottom 5 for the NHL. Let's talk about our top 5 first. I mean, I think I kind of started it already, but the team that jumped out to me right off the chute was the Tampa Bay Lightning. They came out and they put it on Chicago twice. Not that the Blackhawks are what they were, but the Stanley Cup champions obviously don't look like they're taking a step back at all, putting 5 goals in the net in both of those games.
No, they definitely look like a Stanley Cup team looking to try to repeat as well. So they look good, and they're in the right division for it as well, in that Central. So they can really kind of dominate really through that division. And really the only teams probably is going to be Florida, Carolina, and Dallas as well. I mean, Nashville's kind of won some games as well. Detroit's probably going to be maybe a little bit. They're going to be one of these sneaky, scrappy teams where you actually have to play a game, but they're better than Detroit.
Yeah, definitely. Detroit obviously coming off of a horrible season, so they're going to need to win a lot more games for me to start believing in them.
Yeah, and again, it's early on in the season. It's early as well, and same goes for Buffalo. I was curious with them. Like they have 2 of the top point getters with Taylor Hall and Jack Eichel, and really, and somehow they're 1-3 now. Like that, should that happen as well? So I'm really kind of curious how they, do they, if they keep losing, did they kind of quit and be like, okay.
Who was first in your top 5?
First in my top 5, with you is Tampa Bay. They look strong. They they really put it to Chicago, even though Chicago is not who they were now, but still they came out strong, and they're probably gonna win the Central.
I would think so too. And then you look at, for me, number 2 right now, you got to look at Vegas. Vegas looks solid to me. And I mean, they are a team that's been very strong even since the franchise's inception. And I think that they are another team that, once again, won a very stacked division a year ago, was the number 1 seed in the Western Conference last year, and now might be that year that they finally are able to complete that run and get the cup.
Yeah, they're definitely one of the best teams, and we'll have to see with the age. I know they're a little bit older, so and again, they have to deal with Chicago, with Colorado and St. Louis too. So that's going to be a feisty, a feisty division as well.
And let's not forget Minnesota's a team in there that could be scrappy going forward too.
Yeah, they could be a little bit scrappy. Again, they played LA, and they got a couple of come from behind wins as well. But it could be one of those. They look good against a really bad team as well, and then when they go up against the better teams, really they start nosediving a little bit, and they start looking like a mediocre hockey team.
All right, who did you have at 2?
2, same with you. Vegas, they've looked strong. They've looked impressive. A lot. They've kind of given up some shorthanded opportunities. I was watching the Arizona game on Monday, and I saw it definitely on the power play. Like they gave up a shorthanded goal, and Arizona had a couple of shorthanded chances as well. So that could be a cause for concern with Vegas. But yeah, they definitely look strong. They definitely look like one of the top teams that could compete for the cup.
Excellent. What did you have at 3?
3 for me is probably Toronto right now. Toronto's looking solid with a 3-1 record. They've looked really good, and they've looked strong, especially in the North Division. And this looks like the year that like maybe Toronto can kind of pull things together as well. Maybe get that home ice advantage for the North Division, and then maybe as the summer goes on, maybe they start opening stuff up again. We'll get those crowds in Toronto as well. They're very hockey crazy, but again, they've had so much baggage going on that it's just like, man, just a whiff of just bad news would would be detrimental to this team.
All right, my number 3 right now, I got to go with the hometown team here. I got to go with Colorado. Yeah, they dropped the opener against the very good St. Louis team, but the way they answered after that is frightening.
Yeah, that was going to be my number 4 team. Yeah, they didn't look strong opening night. They look like a team that really they could have used a preseason. But yeah, they really doubted all the Wednesday night was not a cause for, or last Wednesday night was not a cause for concern after what happened on Friday. It was just like, okay, Wednesday was just kind of a blip in the radar. They, St. Louis just played a really good game, and they really came back and really dominated St. Louis, and they dominated really last night as well. I was watching the game, and really they kind of laxed in the third period, but the first 2 periods they really dominated the game, and really they put the Kings on their heels as well.
Absolutely. Great effort from the Avs there. That was your 4 team.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go into my 4th place team right now, which is the Montreal Canadiens. They look strong. Once again, I think they're a team that's built really well for success in that North Division. I think they're probably the team that I predict to come out of that North Division as the top seed. And their wins, both coming against Edmonton, are very impressive.
Yeah, both wins against Edmonton, and they're going to compete with Toronto and Calgary right now, and probably Edmonton if Edmonton gets their act together for the North Division as well. So it's going to be, again, the North Division is probably going to be probably the most fun division, because it feels like all 7 of the teams have a chance to win that division.
All right, exactly. I really do think, that's going to be a fun division.
Maybe except for Ottawa. Maybe Ottawa is probably other than Ottawa, maybe. But
Ottawa might show up. You never know.
Yeah, but it's just like Winnipeg's good as well. Edmonton, obviously, with the firepower. Calgary's good as well. Same with Toronto and Montreal. Vancouver, they have a slow start right now, but maybe they'll get it together.
Exactly. Who do you got as your 5th team there?
My 5th team is probably the Flyers. They looked impressive the first 2 games against Pittsburgh. Had a little bit of a setback against Buffalo, but then they came back and won the following game as well. They're 3-1 right now, and they're looking very strong, and probably could compete with Tampa Bay for the in the playoffs going forward.
Awesome. Yeah, I think they could be the cream of the crop there. I think Washington obviously has a lot to say about that division as well, but I think it's going to be very fun to watch that division.
Yes, I think we're seeing kind of the decline maybe of like Pittsburgh and Boston as well. Like I've seen Pittsburgh, and I've been sort of impressed. They look okay against Washington, but yeah, they've really looked like an average team now. Like, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. But then, it's Sidney Crosby's at his 16th year. It's something that just doesn't dawn on you until they shut out the number. Like, this is his 16th season. Like, oh, okay, he's getting up there.
Yeah, Sid the Kid is now Sid the Mid-Age Crisis.
Exactly. Yeah, and same goes for Boston. Like, was that their peak of this run was a couple of years ago in that Stanley Cup Finals, and maybe this is kind of like a drop off as well.
Exactly. My 5th place team right now, or my 5th team in the top 5, and I think this is mostly just for like reasons of wanting to talk about them, is going to be the Florida Panthers. Unfortunately, they've had a lot of games canceled due to COVID because they were supposed to play the Stars, who got canceled due to COVID. Now their next 2 games are canceled because of Carolina and the COVID situation. But the Panthers are 2-0. They swept the Blackhawks. And one of the guys that I actually covered when I was working in Evansville, Indiana for the hockey team there was Chris Drieger, who actually got a start and a victory against the Chicago Blackhawks the other night. So I just wanted to shout out the Panthers, shout him out, and his cool Mandalorian helmet.
Yeah, they've looked impressive. They've been it's just unfortunate that they're the team that's been kind of bit, other than Dallas, really hard because of the COVID as well. And it hasn't been their fault, so we can't get mad at them because it hasn't been their fault. So the Florida looks really good, and I'm very, very excited what they're going to do. Joe Quenneville's a really good coach. He's definitely got this team going on, especially the first week. So we'll see what happens when they don't have. Maybe it's just the case where they play 2 games and then they get a COVID break.
Exactly. Who knows? They might be the most well-rested team come playoff time.
Exactly.
All right, let's look at the bottom 5 now. Who you got at the bottom?
I mean, really, do you want to go 5-1 or 1-5?
Let's go 5-1.
5-1. Really, what's been kind of I guess 5 would have to be the Kings. They actually I watched them last night. Again, they did not quit, even though the Avs were definitely the better team. They did not quit. They made it an interesting game at 3-2, and they had the lead against Minnesota. The first 2 games, and then they kind of gave up the lead as well. So they're a team that's just like if they have like some of this bad luck or something like that, it really could falter them going through the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're a team that's really been close in all 3 games. They've only lost. All 3 of their games have been 1-goal games. But once again, if you lose all 1-goal games, then you can just basically be the LA Chargers of the NHL, and that's not going to help you out much either.
No, it will not.
Yeah, I think
what's your 5?
My 5 number. That's my 5 as well.
Okay.
What's your 4?
4 would have to be surprising. Would be Vancouver. This was the team that made it to the second round of the playoffs in the bubble last year. They beat the defending Stanley Cup champions, and it looked like a team that was going to take maybe this leap this year, but they really have not have gotten the leap. They beat Edmonton their first game, but then they lost the next night, and then lost two, and they got beat handily by Calgary as well. So this is a team that has expectations this year, and they're not fulfilling it right now after the first week.
See, I have them as the second worst team looking to me right now, and I think once again it is partly because of the expectations, and I think it's partly because like they have been getting beat so handily. I mean, they're -7 right now in goal differential, the second worst in the league, and so I think they're a team that, like I said, I had higher on my list, I guess, of worst teams because they've struggled so bad.
Yeah, they have struggled really bad. They have struggled immensely, and you thought this was a team that was maybe going to make a leap and maybe compete in that North Division. They could be the odd team out in the North.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's early, but yeah, they look terrible so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you got next?
For my number 3, I'm going to have to go for the Dallas Stars. They haven't played a game yet. They've been ratched by the COVID, and really they haven't played a game. So you got to punish them a little bit for having this COVID outbreak a little bit. So I wouldn't make them like the worst team, but they should definitely be on the 5 worst teams because, hey, you haven't played a game yet, Hey, play a game, and then I'll maybe move you up.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, obviously they're a team that, we haven't seen yet, so it's tough to say what they are. And, I mean, I'm not going to put them on there just because they were so good last season. But, yeah, they are a team that, once again, no one wants to be the first one to be snake bitten by the COVID, and they were that team that already has kind of been the turd in the punch bowl for the league.
Exactly. I don't they knew COVID was a serious situation. I guess they thought maybe it was going to be what it was like for the bubble, and it really has not been.
Exactly. I mean, my third worst, I got to go with Edmonton on this. I mean, they look bad. They got whooped by the Canadiens twice. They lost to Vancouver, who looks bad. I think that they, like you said, really need to start figuring out a way to stop some other teams from scoring. And then again, you have all this firepower, so to only put up one goal in each of those games against the Canadiens is pretty disappointing.
Yes, it is pretty disappointing. They actually they're actually they're actually going to be my they're actually my number 2 worst team. I was thinking about putting Buffalo in there, but yeah, well, you kind of convinced me with them. They've gotten beaten handily in these games, and they have they can put pucks in the net, but they really couldn't stop. They can't stop pucks going in as well. And it happened too with the bubble as well. They got beat by Chicago because really they couldn't stop Chicago's offense. And looking back at it now, wow, it's really saying something.
Right. I think we're at obviously our worst team, or no, my second worst team right now has got to be Columbus. And that is because, I mean, they were a team, too, that gave the Lightning a fight in the playoffs last year, and they've come out of the gate really struggling, got swept by Nashville, lost to Detroit, which obviously was a terrible team last year. So, I mean, it looked like Columbus might be able to build some momentum after a good playoff run against the Lightning last year, and now they just do not look like that team.
Yeah, they haven't been putting pucks in the net. That's been really their problem. It seems like they have the defense and the goaltending, but they just have not put pucks in the net so far this season, and that's really a cause for concern, especially if you're a defensive-minded hockey team. If you can't, and they've kind of given up some goals as well, so it's kind of tough if you're giving up goals but not scoring them. It's the opposite of Edmonton.
Exactly. I mean, I think we both have got to agree on what team's got to be number 1 right now in the bottom 5, right?
Oh yeah, the Blackhawks. Oy vey. Really, they have looked very bad. Granted, I mean they played against the Stanley Cup champions, but they've given up 5 goals each game. Each game. They've given up 5 goals each game. I'm just checking their schedule right now.
Right. 5 goals each game. I mean, that is bad. Negative 11 goal differential through 4 games. Like, that is very bad. They made the Panthers look really good, and I mean, the Panthers may or may not be that good, but I mean, again, to see them get drubbed that badly is it's a bad sign. It's not what you want to see if you're a Blackhawks fan.
No, and it's wow, it's amazing what 10 years has changed. 10 years 10 years ago they were winning cups and being Stanley Cup contenders. Now they're going to be probably first overall pick contenders. It's amazing how much 10 years changes a franchise.
Certainly is, and I mean, it's probably now you're seeing all the bandwagoners jumping off the Blackhawks bandwagon, and now the countdown to Cubs season is probably on in Chicago.
I really would have been curious. So I work again. If people don't know, I work with retail at the Pepsi Center, and back when I first started working, we dreaded those Blackhawks games because we got asked constantly if we had any Blackhawks gear. Which was really it's the stupidest question ever, and it really we get asked, but it really started dwindling down a little bit, and I really would have been curious this year if they did stink, how many Blackhawks fans we would have seen in those games.
Oh, I think they've all retreated to the bandwagon that they've jumped on because, like I said, you didn't hear much about Blackhawks fans until like 10 or 15 years ago.
I know it was one of these, like, what happened? It felt like a lot like the Golden State Warriors when Steph and Clay got good. Really, it's just like you had all these people just jump up out of nowhere. Like, I'm a Golden State fan. I'm like, where did you come from?
Were you a Golden State fan when they had Latrell Sprewell and Donyell Marshall? Or are you just a Golden State fan for the month?
Yeah, Anton Jameson.
Yeah, exactly.
They would have. Yeah, it's very funny how sports have changed in like 20 years. Like, you just have a lot of these bandwagon. Yeah, and it's just like you have a lot of these kids too wearing Curry jerseys as well. So it's just, yeah.
Right. And I mean, I think at the end of the day too, I think the NBA is a more player-driven league as opposed to other leagues where it's a little bit more focused on the team as opposed to the player.
Right. Yeah. And I just would have loved to see how many Blackhawks fans would have shown up for games if they had the start that they had. And it would have been nice. It would have been actually a pro Avs crowd for once instead of, hearing Blackhawks fans cheer after a goal and you look up and you're going, oh, man, Blackhawks scored.
Yeah, like I said, I'm sure those days are long gone.
Yeah, they're long gone for right now.
Certainly.
But I still got to deal with Cubs fans. That's the problem.
I don't mind the Cubs fans. I like the Cubs fans. I'll take them over Cardinals fans any day.
They're the same people. They're the same fans.
The Cubs fan can talk to you about any sort of baseball. Cardinals fans can usually talk to you about the Cardinals or the Cubs, and that's about it.
They're the same people. They're the same people. That's the secret. That's the secret thing. They're the same people. You're the same people. St. Louis Cardinals fans and Chicago Cubs fans. You're the same people. You're the same type of fans.
I mean, I'll trust you because you deal with a lot of fans. Obviously, at Mizzou, I was dealing with both sides of this rivalry, and like I said, I found the Cubs fan to be more tolerable.
Yeah, they're the same as far as my book.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna get so much flack for it, but it's like, you know what? That's my opinion. You're the same. You're the same type of fans.
It's probably why they hate each other.
Yes, exactly.
Well, let's move on to our big.
Thank you for listening to the SP at Bushy Show. This podcast was created by Sean Pooley and Stephen Bush. Intro was created by Zach DeMose. For more content, please visit our Twitter at SP Bushy and our YouTube page at Sean Pooley. Thank you again for listening.